Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and it's just me. And I'm very excited to talk about this today, that Vince McMahon is no longer in charge at WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, formerly World Wrestling Federation. And I just got to say, I've always had a very hate-hate relationship with this man because he took all the best things about professional wrestling that I was a fan of in the late 90s and early 2000s and killed off as much of it as he could for his own gain. Now, some people would call that smart business sense. But if you truly care about an industry, you don't want to have a monopoly. You want to have some competition that inspires growth for everyone so you can all turn a higher profit. But that was not the Vinnie Mac way. No. He bought so many territories in the 1980s, smaller companies, so he could make sure that they were not around anymore. Names like Jim Crockett Promotions with its predecessors, and also Eastern States Championship Wrestling, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Central States Wrestling, Championship Wrestling from Florida, Championship Wrestling from Georgia, NWA Tri-State / Mid-South Wrestling / UWF, as it changed names multiple times, and Heartland Wrestling Association. Now, those territories were trying to compete with World Wrestling Federation, their name at the time, so that they could all get on TV. And as Vince buys these fucking companies out or raids their talent so they go under, he basically takes the people that he's buying from them and bringing them in. He never really does shit with them. He renames them, he rebrands them, he basically makes them a fucking joke. Also, he can laugh all the way to the fucking bank. Which again, smart business-wise, dick move if you actually care about the professional wrestling industry. And then his main competitor when I was coming up was World Championship Wrestling, and to a lesser extent, ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. And in the year 2001, they both had struggles as Vince had raided their locker rooms, and he bought them both. And the two main competitors, who I thought were actually almost on par or better at times, were suddenly gone. And he took their people, and he got rid of a bunch, and he kept a few, and he didn't let them rise to their full potential. Like the ones that went the furthest were like Booker T and Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, and 2 out of those 3 aren't alive anymore. And from ECW, he signed Taz. Taz was their fucking world heavyweight champion. He was the human suplex machine, and he brought him in, and he let him break Kurt Angle's fucking winless streak at the Royal Rumble in '99, I believe. It was an amazing match to watch. But then immediately, they didn't really do shit else with him after that. Because nobody wanted to sit there and get suplexed by this little peanut of a man. And he ruined it. RVD, Rob Van Dam, was never the same. Sabu never got the billing he did. Sandman never got the billing he did. The BWO, Blue World Order, not to be confused with the Blumpkin World Order on my other show, Blumpkin and Friends, they didn't get their due. Some people did good, some people did not. But the point is there were more than enough reasons to hate Vince McMahon for destroying these other companies that I love to watch, and many others, because they were an alternative to his I know it all, I'm best, hands-on with everything, micromanaging bullshit. And don't get me wrong, I loved Stone Cold, I loved The Rock, I loved Mankind, The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, DX, The Job Squad. Anything in the Attitude Era was great. But once Vince didn't have competition, he didn't have to try anymore, which then led us to John Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Bautista, and a few other motherfuckers whose names I can't even recall, honestly. The Ruthless Aggression era, and that's when I fucking tuned out. Because once you had so few people around to put a title belt on that we had to get JBL, I was like, fuck this. And I just gotta say, with angles over the years like, oh, hey, Triple H is going to marry the boss's daughter, but he drugged her, and then he took her through a drive-through wedding chapel in Vegas, then they went back to a hotel and consummated the marriage. Hey, that was Vince's idea, or at least he rubber-stamped it, that his own daughter was being drugged and basically raped. Or there was the time that Triple H put on a mask and pretended he was Kane, and the storyline was Kane once upon a time ago killed this old girlfriend of his, Katie Vick. So you had a mannequin in a fucking coffin, and Triple H with the Kane mask, and he climbs in the coffin and simulates sex with it, and then pulls spaghetti off of its head and says, "Katie, I screwed your brains out." Shit like that. Or Mark Henry, sexual chocolate with his old fucking biddy. And she ends up pulling her tits out at one point. They thought that was okay to show. It was gross. But her and Mark Henry had this fucking love angle going. And next thing you know, she's feet up in the stirrups, knees to her chest, quote, giving birth. And then all that comes out of her pussy is this jelly-covered rubber hand. And I'm like, this is wrestling? What the fuck is this? And then, of course, because ECW was about tables, chairs, barbed wire, ladders, going to the extreme. Literally, it was in their name. It was their whole fucking mantra. And Vince took that, he watered it down. He took the Dudley Boys, he watered them down. I just cannot say enough bad things about Vince over the years. He did everything he could to sign the best talent away from Ring of Honor so that they never get to rise up to their full potential. When NWA TNA started in like 01, he kind of didn't take him seriously, and he let some very powerful people walk out of his company to go there. And it albatrossed everything for TNA, who's still around as Impact Wrestling, but they're not the same. It just, Vince stopped growth of the wrestling industry so that once he bought his main competitors, nobody else could ever come to the table and eat the same way ever again. Not until 3 years ago, when a bunch of Ring of Honor main eventers and some New Japan guys by the names of Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, some other indie darlings, and the son of Jacksonville Jaguars owner, Shah Khan, his son, Tony Khan, started a company, All Elite Wrestling. It was the best thing going for the last few years. Until just recently when they've kind of lost their way, but that's a whole nother topic, and that's like a BWO episode that we're not even doing. The focus today is Vince is gone, and it's great, and his daughter's in charge with her husband, Triple H, and Triple H was the reason that NXT, the WWE's third brand and arguably best thing going for the last fucking forever, that Vince decided to send Triple H home and take his power away, and he destroyed what we called the black and gold brand when it was at its best, when it was competing with AEW. Yeah, and he watered it down and turned it into a shitfest. Vince just likes to ruin wrestling and mold it into what he thinks is still good, which is they used to sign a lot of top indie talent from the smaller companies throughout America here. And all he started doing is saying, we need to sign college athletes and people that look like models, and they don't need to know how to wrestle. We'll teach them the WWE way. And it's just not the fucking same. Stupid things he did over the years, like constantly changing people's names, revamping them into shittier gimmicks, or dropping into their first or last name. It's just bizarre that this man was in his 70s and chose to keep working and be so hands-on that the day of a nationally televised show with a contract with a major cable provider network, he walks in, he rips up the script, and he fucking throws and says, do it again, I don't like it. I'm gonna make these edits because I'm smart. I employ a bunch of writers, but fuck you guys. Yeah, fuck you, Vince. I'm glad you're gone. And the reason he's gone is because his house of cards started to topple after a Wall Street Journal article earlier in the summer. Now, that came out and outlined that Vince had paid several women millions of dollars in hush money and had engaged in sexual harassment, inappropriate business relationships with a disproportionate power dynamic, where he preys on young hot women in the company and is like, maybe if you suck my dick, you'll get a title shot or whatever the fuck. There's one woman where she was promised the moon and then she stopped him and then nothing materialized. Big fucking shock. And it just, all these inappropriate practices that led to an investigation by the board of directors of the company, which he was the head of, and he had to step away while they investigated this. And that was in June. Well, about a month later, more information had come out that even more hush money payments had got out, and even goofier shit like a $5 million payment to a Trump Foundation company. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Him and his ex-wife or current wife or whatever the fuck they are, estranged, Linda McMahon, who ran for Republican office at one point, they're cronies with the Donald. And that just tells you everything you need to know about Vince McMahon, really. So all this shit came out, that Vince was a dirty perv who abused his power, who fucked around on his wife, who figured he could pay people to go away. And it's just like time and time again throughout history, powerful men that had the opportunity to act poorly have chosen to. And although Vince was the son of a wrestling promoter who inherited the company and arguably elevated the industry well beyond what it ever might have been if he hadn't put his touch on it. But at the same time, I've told you all the ways that I and many other people feel he fucking ruined the industry and stagnated its growth and development and diversification. So, bye-bye. You're gone. You might have got your pee-pee played with. You might have gotten sucked off. You might have had some fun and, drank and partied with the boys and you were the cool boss. But look what it fucking got you. You're old as shit. He turned 77 like yesterday. And the guy, his whole life is turned upside down. At mid-July, he steps down as CEO, and officially his daughter and this guy Nick Khan, who's responsible for firing some of my favorite wrestlers from that company from the last 5 years. The guy's just fucking cleaned house so many times. It's ridiculous, for cost-cutting measures to make it look better for the shareholders. That's another something I want to throw out there. Once WWE became a publicly traded company, they stopped thinking, let's do stuff that wrestling fans like, and well, we got to appease the networks, and we also got to appease all of our fucking shareholders in the stock. And I get it to an extent, but it was at the behest of true wrestling fans and to the detriment of your own company's ability to put out a tolerable product. It's just been hot garbage. So to see this guy that I don't really like, I won't call him my enemy, but someone that I loathe, to see him lose his most important aspect of his life, it feels very vindicating. Like when you don't like someone and they get fired for being the shitty person at work, or a friend who has a crappy girlfriend and she gets busted doing something stupid and he finally dumps her ass, and you're just like, fuck yeah, you're comeuppance, there you go, suck on it, bitch. Well, Vince McMahon did make some bitches suck on it, and then he had to pay them to the tune of millions of dollars, which are very expensive blowjobs, by the way. And one name I'm going to throw out, Ashley Massaro. She killed herself a few years ago. And she was a part of the Diva Search back in the day. She was super hot, super talented, came in, and it sounds like she might have been one of these women that he promised stuff to get her to do stuff with him, and he paid her to shut up. And she was sexually assaulted years ago at a Tribute to the Troops show overseas. And Vince and the rest of the company convinced her not to come forward with the information because they didn't want to damage their working relationship with the United States military for these fucking USO shows or Tribute to the Troops shows. And it's just disgusting to me that a man who had a daughter would let something like that slide for business sake. Not to mention, he fucking does shows in Saudi Arabia for tens of millions of dollars. And there was an infamous one a few years back where there was an argument over payment. Vince went and talked to the Crown Prince or whoever his cronies were that handled that shit. And then everybody was like, we don't know if we're getting out of here in one piece. It's starting to get scary. Vince hops on a private jet, fucking leaves. Everybody else is like, don't know when we're leaving. He left all of his fucking paid employees high and dry. What a scumbag. And there's always been rumors that, like, Stephanie McMahon and the Macho Man Randy Savage, when she was younger, had like a tryst going on, some sort of sexual romantic thing. And it's like an open secret that it really happened, and Vince was cool with it and did nothing to punish Macho Man for the fact that I'm pretty sure Stephanie was a minor at the fucking time. It just shit like that. I was talking to Rick James, my best buddy today, and Ricky's like, yeah, but don't you remember that angle that was supposed to come to TV that never did, where Vince was going to pretend that he got his own daughter pregnant? They were going to do like an incestual pregnancy angle. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And I'm glad I don't, because shit like that just reaffirms for me why I made the right decision to stop watching WWE programming regularly in 2005. And I didn't pick it up again until 2017. Like, it took Ring of Honor and NXT and then All Elite Wrestling and New Japan and MLW to get me to like wrestling again. I don't fucking watch Raw and SmackDown. I don't know how anybody could. Except, here's the happy ending. Triple H knows what the fans want. He wants to appease the fans. He wants to bring in the best talent. He wants to put on exciting, new, fresh matches and have new, exciting, fresh feuds and grow the industry. I mean, obviously he wants the company to succeed more than anybody, but I don't think he wants to put Tony Khan and AEW out of business. I mean, he referred to him as a pissant company 2 years ago during the, quote, Wednesday Night Wars when AEW was regularly kicking NXT's ass in the ratings after Vince decided, let's move NXT to Wednesday nights where AEW is and try to choke them out. But it didn't work. So, glory, glory, hallelujah, Triple H and his wife see fit to run this company better, to bring back people that were fired, to not change names, to go with more sensible storylines, to make things exciting again. And I don't watch Raw and SmackDown still. I read the news reports of what happens at the shows daily, multiple times daily. I want to know what's going on in this industry because I fucking love professional wrestling. So I watch this shit and it's just like music to my ears that Gargano's back and Killer Cross is back and they might bring back Bronson Reed and they're not going to lose Sasha Banks and Naomi. They're not going to go on without Dakota Kai and Io Shirai. They're going to bring people back. They're going to try to make it a better place to work. And I'm not saying it's going to go full-blown healthcare and unionization and you're no longer independent contractors as Vince made them. Another thing he did is he never gave them healthcare. Look it up. Jesse Ventura tried to unionize back in the day, and he was punished for it. He was basically fucking cut off at the knees. Another reason to be glad that Vince is gone. The dragon has been slain. He is going to rot the rest of his years, rich as hell, but he's going to hate it because he's the type of guy that never wanted to stop working. So all the misery he's going to feel now is very deserved. And frankly, if his daughter and son-in-law don't talk to him as much, fine, fuck him. I mean, his own son, Shane McMahon, doesn't really have much to do with him either. And what does that tell you? That if he's estranged from his wife and his daughter was fine taking over and wants to go a different direction than what he was doing, and his son doesn't really want a part of it, and when he came in, it was all kinds of bullshit the last go-around because Shane wanted to do things differently. This is what we, who really love wrestling, even if we didn't like WWE, have been waiting for. I hate Vince McMahon. I don't hate World Wrestling Entertainment. I'm not a fan of sports entertainment in general. I like professional wrestling. It's an AEW thing going on right now. But it's a glorious day and a great time to be a wrestling fan because the leash is off. And it's just like, where do we go from here? Are things going to get so good that WWE forces AEW to pick up the slack that they've been choking on for the last 6 months and up their game? Are things only going to get better and better and better? Because that's what I want. So as I introduce my kids to wrestling, there's things that they can hone in on that don't seem like they were put on TV by a 70-something-year-old man who's out of touch with reality and the youth. So it only stands to bring in more fans. That's what I want to see. That's why I did this episode. I'm glad that the devil is gone. He's getting his due. And the rest of us that really love pro wrestling will get excellent professional wrestling again on WWE programming. I couldn't be happier about this. Unless, of course, Vince died in like a car accident. Then I might just jerk off while I laugh about it. But that's me. I'm kind of a prick. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann. And that's the end.